Good morning, everyone. My name is Mark, and I want to welcome you all to Catalyst, our monthly gathering of Stanislaus County sector leaders and influencers. I want to welcome everybody here in the room and those who have joined us via our live stream channels. If you're on Zoom, I want to let you know there's going to be times where we'll be able to interact with our online host, John Torres. And if you're watching us on Facebook Live, Carlos Gonzalez will be there to answer any questions you might have on Facebook Live. A few things we want to share to get us started here is we would like to thank 4 of our community business sponsors that sponsor our Catalyst event here this morning. And we have Access Capital, Oak Valley Community Bank, Rolling F Credit Union, and Blue Shield of California. So thank you to all of our sponsors for sponsoring this monthly gathering here today. If you're here in the room, please make sure to use the sign-in sheet in the middle of your table if that's there. We want to keep you updated in our email list to stay informed of all of our City Ministry Network events and upcoming events and activities. And I'm sure if you came in, if you're new, I invite you to fill out a welcome card there that you can grab at the entrance table if you didn't get a chance to pick one of those up and turn those in for us. If you're online, another note, we'd like to remind you if you can please mute your audio and feel free to use the chat to engage with us here today. We also want to make sure, give everybody here a moment to check in via our online platform. So if you have Facebook and Instagram, we want to give you a moment. I'm actually going to pause and give you a moment so that you can get out your phones if you have those platforms on Facebook and just let people know that you're here and check in maybe, or if you want to follow us or like us on Facebook and give you the opportunity to go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and pause for just a few seconds and let you go ahead and do that. So once again, we want to welcome you all to Catalyst, our gathering. Catalyst is a place for community conversations and connections that matter and inspire. This is a safe place to explore issues that face our community with our diverse members of our community with different perspectives that we all choose to work together for the benefit of our community. Our hope is that you will connect with others who share the same vision or passion and begin to build trust, work together so we can impact our community together so that everyone can benefit within our community. So once again, thank you all for coming. At this time, I want to take a moment to welcome our Mayor, Susan Wellen, to the stage. And thank you for being here. So as you guys are aware, we have a few new council members here at the City of Modesto, so we're going to give a moment so that the mayor can introduce our 3 new council members so you can get a quick perspective of who they are and welcome them to the city here.
Right, thank you very much, Mark. Mark and I work closely together, literally and figuratively, actually. He sits at a desk right close to my office. So I'll begin by briefly introducing myself. Some of you know who I am and have heard the story, but I've been honored to attend Catalyst pretty much from the beginning on a monthly basis, so I've really learned a lot from attending these meetings, and I'm really appreciative of everyone that organizes this so that our community can come together and learn more about each other. I was born in Modesto, California, 1954, so I'm 68 years old. You don't have to do the math. On Hackberry Avenue. Spent my life growing up summers at Grace Ada Park, attended schools here, graduated from high school, met my husband when we were seniors in high school. So we've been together since we were 17 years old. We have 6 adult children, 11 grandchildren, another one soon to be born. I went right after high school to nursing school. So I was 18 years old, went to the Bay Area to Samuel Merritt, became a registered nurse, and spent the majority of my career since 1976 in the emergency room, and most of it here at Doctors Medical Center. So I am an ER nurse. I retired in 2019, but I still do have my license. So I'm really honored now at this time in my life to serve as mayor. And I do mean serve. When we talk about collaborative relationships and authentic leadership and all these titles, I wouldn't really know how to do it any other way. As an ER nurse, I've seen a lot, as you can imagine, and I'm spent a lot of time triaging, which means that's a term that came in wartime where I prioritize which patients need to be seen immediately, which can wait 10 minutes or they will not die, which can wait 30 minutes or they will not die, or some that can be delayed even for a couple of hours. So I'm used to making decisions like that, which has really helped me in this role, to be able to make decisions hopefully quickly and efficiently and well thought out. So that's just a little bit about me. I am truly looking forward to working with our new council members. We are so fortunate to have people in our community, many people that step up and run for public office, that bring a lot of knowledge and history and also passion to improve our community. So I could not be more delighted to have our 3 new council members with us today and to be able to introduce them, and they will have an opportunity to tell a little bit about themselves and what's important to them. We've made great strides in our community already, as if you follow the local news at all, with police reform, with our alternative response models to help the people that are homeless in the streets. We need to do more, and that's what we're working really hard on, to make sure that we address the quality of life issues that are so important to all of us in our beautiful city. So I love our community. I am dedicated to doing the best job that I can and working really hard to do what we can together to improve our community. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Eric Alvarez. If you would come forward first. Yes, welcome. And then we also have Nick Bavaro. If you would come forward too. And Jeremiah Williams. So they will each have some time to introduce themselves, and looking forward to hearing from them.
All right, good morning, everybody. I think the theme here today is authentic leadership, right? Which is a good subject. For me personally, still being relatively young, learning, developing in my leadership capacity in this position and in my general capabilities in life. But as Mayor Rizwalan mentioned, my name is Eric Alvarez, born and raised here in Modesto in District 2 specifically. So I have the privilege of representing my home district and my hometown. So I think during this campaign season, it really tested my leadership, what I knew about leadership, what I thought I knew about leadership. And so being able to have the result of this campaign favorable to me really demonstrated the fact that, well, I kind of do know a little bit about what I was doing, which I was just kind of navigating uncharted waters throughout this past year and a half running this campaign. But it ended up being an example of me proving to myself that despite the internal monologue of self-doubt, internal monologue of imposter syndrome, and internal monologue of, maybe, am I getting a little ahead of myself here? It proved to me that, wow, you have to take a risk. You have to be vulnerable. You have to step out and involve yourself in your community, despite being uncomfortable at times, despite not knowing what will happen. You just kind of got to take a leap of faith. And so for me, leadership, authentic leadership, is being vulnerable, 1. 2 is really listening. That's a skill that I've developed and I've continued to develop. And 3 is really making decisions in the best interest of the people you serve, not yourself, not your self-interest. So that's me in a nutshell. I'm looking forward to attending some of these Catalyst meetings in the future. This is my first one. I've been part of the LLI network for some time now. A shout out to LLI class of 21. And thank you to Marvin and Joe and all the leadership putting this on and continuing to invest in the generations that are coming up after them, in my generation, right? And so that gives me a good example of what I should be doing, what my generation should be doing for the generations that are going to come after us. So again, good morning to everybody, and I'm looking forward to representing my home district and my hometown. So thank you. Yeah, the west side of. Yeah.
Good morning. You guys get up early. My name's Nick Bavaro. I represent the 4th District, which is the southeast portion of Modesto. We refer to each other as the son, the father, and grandpa. I just want to let you know that the Modesto City Council is a functional, strong council. Everybody gets along, and all of us are all focused on making Modesto a better place to live, a better place to work, and a better place to raise our families. How we get there is going to be debates, but all of us on the city council respect each other and our positions and what we bring to the table. So Modesto's in good hands with a great mayor. When I ran for city council, I didn't run just to go to the city council meetings, and I said, okay, if I'm going to run for city council, I'm going to push the envelope on some issues. And my priorities as a city council member, number one, public safety. We've got to be careful on the Brown Act, I understand. Public safety, police and fire, safe neighborhoods, parks, bringing our parks back up to the level it should be with the families knowing that the equipment is safe for their kids to play in. Dealing with the homeless issue. The ones who are in our parks, the ones who are in our creek sides, the ones who are on our streets, the ones who are addicted, mental health, that don't want or are not seeking any help. We need to deal with those people because they're God's children too. And we need to help them. We need to get them out of our parks, off our streets, into an area where families can now go back to the neighborhood parks, because neighborhood parks are for neighborhood families. And our streets are for pedestrians. And our business parks in Modesto are for commerce. And so those are the things I'm going to be pushing the envelope on. I appreciate everybody having me here today. It's a little bit early for me. Maybe 2 more cups of coffee and I'll be good to go. I'm going to introduce my good friend, the guy I love, Jeremiah Williams. He may do an altar call. Don't be surprised.
Thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. Turn to your neighbor and say, neighbor, you look awesome today. Turn to your other neighbor and say, I was just kidding. Got to wake you guys up a little bit. I do get up a little early, and I'm all right with that. And I am truly thankful to be a part of the Modesto City Council. And we truly do have a wonderful mayor who's doing an outstanding and awesome job. And we do need to give her another round of applause. And my grandpa over here, and my good friend, and of course, our youngest member of the city council, Eric Alvarez, is going to do an outstanding job for us. We're going to be gone by the time he does everything that he needs. Give him a round of applause, will you please, for stepping up. Young people, we always say young people need to step up and do things. He not only did that, he's doing that, and he's a very bright young man. Marvin, thank you for having and putting together Catalyst. Catalyst, I remember way before Catalyst, there was Youth for Christ and you and I and Marty Villa and all the rest of that 30 plus years ago. I said that to say this, that you're looking at Catalyst. Each and every one of us are a catalyst. That's why I chose to run for Modesto City Council, to be a catalyst, to be a connector, to connect dots with people who don't feel as though government is a part of their life or their well-being or their or their ability to actually achieve something in the community. I'm on the city council, and we're on the city council, so you can be on the city council. We can hear your voice, and we can know what your concerns are, and we can do something about it. People say people do business with people they know. And I know a lot of you in here and have known you for many, many, many years. Wade was a little baby when I knew him. And I know I don't look that old, but I'm thankful that God has been good to my life. And I'm going to say that again. God has been good to my life. See, he said I might do an altar call. It's already starting. I don't hear an amen out there. What's going on? We are in a church setting, so I don't have to fall along the lines of government and separate. But the fact of the matter is God has been good to me, and God's been good to this community. And it shows that with each and every one of you that do come to Catalyst every Friday morning of Thursday morning, the first Thursday of every month. Unfortunately, I have Kiwanis that same time, so you'll see me come in a little halftime because I want to hear the speakers. But I am fortunate to be a part of the Modesto City Council. I've been married now for 36 years. I have 4 adult children. Just recently, this is a wonderful thing, and I'll end with this with a personal thing. I was elected November 8th, which is my daughter-in-law's birthday. Then I was sworn in on the 29th, which was my grandson who turned 3's birthday. And then my wonderful daughter-in-law published, or produced, I should say, a granddaughter, December the 9th. It's been a wonderful year. My birthday was on the 27th of November. I turned 58 years old. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? Look at this young face. My goodness. But truly, it's been a blessing to live in Modesto for the last 43 years, to get to know a lot of you personally, to have been on boards with you personally, to have rubbed shoulders with you personally. And that's what makes being on the city council, for me, a wonderful thing, because now it's just not me, it's all of you. God bless you and have a wonderful day.
We welcome our new council members. Thank you very much for taking your time and being here with us here today. At this time, we want to go ahead and start with a question. We'll have some table talk engagement here. So as our mayor mentioned a few moments ago, I wear kind of a couple of hats here in the community. So I work, my day job is at the City of Modesto in the Community Media Relations in the City Manager's Office. I've actually been at the city for 24 years now, believe it or not. And also, I've been helping to support and being a part of the City Ministry Network team for the last 8 years. So I feel really honored to be part of these organizations within our community. I do want to start off with my personal gratefulness to be a part of 2 organizations, whether my city or my City Ministry Network support that I help here in the community, that I'm proud to be a part of an inclusive work environment that they produce where everyone feels welcome, valued, respected, and heard. So that's what I appreciate in my role that I have here. And now I'll give you guys the opportunity to kind of see what that looks like on your side, since we're talking about authentic leadership here today. So I'm going to go ahead and ask if they can put our Slido question here that we're going to have, and if you guys can bring out your phones and scan the QR code that should be coming up on the screen here. And this is where you would have your opportunity to go ahead and talk around the table. You can have a discussion now on this here. What 3 words would you use to describe a healthy workplace? So after you have your table talk engagement about what maybe that looks like for you, then we'd ask for you to kind of log in those words in that Slido there, and we'd all be able to kind of capture some of those words here. So I'm going to go ahead and give you guys that moment here to kind of engage with your table and kind of go over these questions here today and what that looks like for you. Well, now we're going to go to our next part. We're going to have our guest here today, who you all battled the weather to hear, Dr. Mary Starr. We're so glad that she's able here to join us. So I'm going to go ahead and read her bio here. Mary Starr is a professor in the speech department at Modesto Junior College. She's an experienced communications professional with a demonstrated history of working in nonprofit and faith-based organizations. She's skilled in employee engagement, organizational communication, leadership development, volunteer management, team building, and public speaking training. She's a lifelong learner with expertise in authentic leadership development and creating healthy organizational climates. She's also a certified professional behavior and motivators analyst. In November of 2022, she was awarded a Doctor of Education degree in organizational leadership. Her doctoral research focus was authentic leadership and organizational climate here in Stanislaus County. So at this time, I want to welcome Dr. Mary Starr to the stage.
Thank you. I'm going to give you this one. Can I give you this mic? Because, really? Okay. I also have to operate the remote control, so I'm not even sure I can do two things at once, but I'm going to try. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm really excited to be with you to share about my research. So I'm going to try the clicker to start. Oh, yes. Okay. I did dissertation research on authentic leadership and organizational climate. And in 2018, I met with Marvin to tell him about what I was doing, my research study, and Marvin, being Marvin, says, well, let me know how I can help and support you. So when it came time to actually do my study, I need leaders in the study. And Marvin said, leaders? I've got leaders for you. City Ministry Network. And so I told my committee about this, and they said, no, City Ministry Network, one organization, you're not going to get enough leaders. And I said, you don't know Marvin, and you don't know City Ministry Network, and you don't know our community. So lo and behold, I started my study last year, and Marvin sent out the recruitment email. He announced it at Catalyst, and what I needed was 12 leaders to participate in the study. The first week, I got 36 people who responded to say they wanted to participate in the study. So thank you, Marvin. Thank you, City Ministry Network. And thank you all those who volunteered to be part of the study. So my final sample for my study was 22 leaders. And these leaders rated high in authentic leadership. They took the Authentic Leadership Questionnaire, which had been developed in 2008. And over the past 15 years, that questionnaire has been validated in numerous studies in diverse cultures and diverse work environments. And so that was what they did to find out if they rated high in authentic leadership. And the people in the study were in positions of leadership from supervisory to managers, directors, to at executive levels in organizations. And 95 of those people who were in the study had at least 5 years of leadership experience. And then you'll also see that the size of the sample enabled us to have diverse representation of the industry sectors. There were people that were involved in nonprofits, in businesses, in education, in family and social services, in government, as well as church, religious organizations, churches. So it was really helpful to get a variety of views and a variety of experiences. So today what I'm going to be talking about is who authentic leaders are and what they do. Next, I'll talk about organizational climate and what a positive organizational climate looks like, and then what happens when authentic leadership and organizational climate interact. And as I was listening to the people up on stage earlier, I was thinking, okay, yeah, they've got it. They're describing authentic leadership. But we'll go into just a little bit more detail. So, authentic leaders are first and foremost authentic people. They have an internal set of values and beliefs that guide them to do what is right for their team, for their organization, and for their community. And they try to live by these values every day. So being authentic is aligning your words and your actions with your true self or your core values. And as authentic leadership theory was being developed, researchers proposed that it happens in an inclusive, caring, ethical, and mature organizational climate. There are 4 components or dimensions of authentic leadership that I'll be going into in a little bit more detail. What was interesting to me in my research, and actually is really exciting as a researcher, was that the participants in the study, even though they may not have been familiar with authentic leadership as a theory or leadership style, when they started talking about their beliefs, their attitudes, and what they did, they were describing the dimensions of authentic leadership. So as we look at the dimensions, you'll see quotes from these leaders, because my study used interviews and focus groups to have leaders describe what they saw. And so you will get a chance to look at those. So let's start out with the first one, self-awareness. Self-awareness is being aware of your personal strengths and weaknesses. It's understanding your behavioral characteristics or personality and your emotions. Authentic leaders are aware of and they're willing to be open about their vulnerabilities with others. And authenticity is not necessarily an either-or condition. It's, in a sense, an aspiration. It's what leaders are working to continually grow in. And the leaders in the studies described authenticity as what we heard, being honest, being genuine, being real, and true to self, and not putting on a facade. These leaders had this keen sense of self-reflection. They were willing to take a step back and view a situation and learn from an experience. So one example was a leader talked about holding someone accountable and calling him out on it publicly. And he said, well, I achieved the objective of holding him accountable, but I did it at the cost of humiliating him. So, was it right? Could I have done it differently? Could I have done it better? Yes. And he said, and I saw the response in him, and then I made changes to our relationship based to address that. And then I also made changes in the way I led. I don't do that anymore. Another leader talked about how she's a processor, and that when she's in a group environment and meetings, she tends to be quiet. And one of her supervisors came to her and said, you know, you're communicating a lot more to people with your silence than you realize. It's seen as being rebellious. And people are assuming things that you may not realize. And she said, so I made a shift in how I responded, because it made me conscious that sometimes in my quietness, people aren't sure how to interpret it. Another leader talked about the challenge of leadership. And he said, before you get out of bed in the morning, you've got to strap on your mental leadership. You've got to get yourself together before you go into the office, because people need you to lead well. Another aspect was these leaders had a growth mindset. So they looked at, as we heard, challenges, and they looked at what they were going to do to help make a difference. They learned from people, they learned about people. They learned from both positive and negative experiences. And they were willing to identify and work on personal weaknesses. One leader said when she was a new leader that she questioned the leadership team. And she said she wasn't doing it to challenge them, but I want to understand how you landed at the decision, because sometimes there's wisdom that can be learned. Oh, wait. Click, click. Okay. Next, internalized moral perspective. That's the notion of having an internal compass that guides your actions. Authentic leaders set a standard for high moral and ethical behavior. They show consistency between their values, their words, and their actions. They lead by example. So some people might have talked about authentic leadership around their tables, and they know people who are authentic jerks. But that isn't part of authentic leadership. Authentic leadership encompasses all four of those dimensions. And a key part of it that differentiates it is having that internalized moral perspective. Having those values that are upheld even in the midst of pressure. One leader said that I never tried to put myself in a position where I wouldn't have the courage to walk away from that job. These leaders were also very aware that their outward behaviors had to be consistent with their espoused values. The leaders in the study talked about having integrity and being trustworthy, about walking the talk, practicing what you preach, and doing what you say you're going to do. One leader said that once followers start to see you live it out, and they hear you talk about it, and then over time see you live it out, then they get what you're talking about. And there was another aspect of this internalized moral perspective, and it was how these leaders valued the inherent worth of the individual. They had an other person focus versus a self-serving focus. They cared about followers and peers in ways that went beyond work assignments and organizational performance. And they felt a sense of mission. It wasn't that they were just doing a job or they were looking for a career. Balanced processing is inviting diverse viewpoints in decision-making. Authentic leaders cultivate inclusion and engagement in the organization by inviting others into decision-making processes, by encouraging input, and by sharing the rationale for their decisions. Enlisting diverse decisions. We sometimes don't want to hear somebody that's not thinking like we do, but it means inviting and listening to views that might challenge my own position as a leader. Several leaders also mentioned that they had trusted peers, both inside the organization and outside, who would be open and honest with them. One leader said, what you don't know about yourself, you ought to be asking people. Another said, you need people who are going to go, hey, you are getting out of control. And several leaders also mentioned the idea of voice and giving people voice. One leader said, people want to know that their voice is being heard somehow. Even if it's a quiet voice, they still want to be heard. And so these leaders really worked to get people's input. They wanted to hear from people who were on the front lines to understand how they saw things. They worked at taking raw ideas and getting feedback and somehow incorporating them in ways that were demonstrable. And then they were open and transparent in explaining how and why they came to decisions. So maybe a follower or their followers didn't really agree with the decision, but they recognized that the process was fair. And relational transparency, that's openness and honesty as you communicate with others. The participants in the study realized that a relational style of leadership was much more effective than leadership based on rules and regulations. And they worked at building trust by being open and approachable. It wasn't just having an open door policy. These leaders got up from behind their desks and they went out to engage with followers in their workspaces, in their spaces, and to listen. It was things like going around to people's cubicles and finding out about those people, about their families, about their interests, about what they do in their job roles. Another example one leader gave was he was explaining how he helped in training people, and he said, I get down on one knee next to the person's computer to walk them through the process. So can you imagine a leader who's taking the time to get next to you, to answer your questions and explain things, how that creates such value and respect for that individual? Another leader said that he works to schedules coffee with the people on his staff. And his staff is more than 200 people. He said, I want to get to know them, and I want them to get to know me. I want them to be able to talk to me directly and tell me the good, the bad, and the ugly. Another leader talked about having one-on-one check-ins, and she saw those as opportunities for her to connect with people individually and relationally, and really building trust. Okay, so we're going to move on to, okay, I'm not doing great with my clicker here, to organizational climate. Climate is how organizational culture is manifested at the surface level. Have you ever been in a workplace that the tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife? How about being in an environment where it's cold and chilly and distant, and you're not talking about air conditioning? But what about a workplace that is warm and welcoming and open? That's climate. So what does a positive climate look like? The leaders in the study describe positive organizational climates as healthy, safe, happy, supportive, genuine, and collaborative. They found that positive organizational climates were environments that offered safe spaces for people to be themselves, where the focus was on the team versus on the leader, and where people felt cared for. Positive organizational climates, as you can see, have a lot of different elements. I'm going to focus on some interesting findings in the study that I wasn't expecting. One was learning to fail. More than half of the participants in the study saw freedom to fail as critical to follower development. They would bring mistakes out in the open, not to assign blame, but they saw it as an opportunity for learning. They said people then recognized they didn't have to hide mistakes, and they could be more comfortable asking for help. They also saw that learning from failure spurs innovative and creative thinking, and it encourages people to work together to solve problems. One of the leaders said, hey, if it's wrong, at least we know what not to do next time. And another leader said, if things don't go perfectly, we'll figure it out and rework it differently. Another very interesting thing was how leaders expressed care for the whole person in positive organizational climates. They recognized the impact of mental, emotional, and physical health. They paid attention to self-care for their followers, but they also recognized that self-care is important for leaders too. So they talked about self-care. They talked about and modeled a work-life balance, and they saw that it cultivated organizational environments of empathy, adaptability, and support. One leader talked about a situation where someone, an employee, came to him who was going through some tough personal problems, and he said, I can't hold it together. And the leader said, okay, go home. And the employee said, wait, am I getting fired? And the leader said, no, it's way more important that you take care of yourself right now. We're always going to have the work. But if you don't take care of your mental health and take care of yourself and get some time to think, you're not going to be a healthy person. Can you imagine what that does in a workplace when people feel that they can and are cared for as a whole person? Okay, another aspect that came up was fun and celebration. So yes, having fun, we get that permission. Participants saw celebration as shared experiences that promote relationships and camaraderie. And celebration was incorporated into the life of the organization. It wasn't just celebrating big things, it was celebrating small wins before you move on to the next assignment or the next project. It was being able to laugh together. One of the leaders said, my approach is that fun is part of the way God shows us blessing, and it's as important as the problem or work or whatever. So what happens when authentic leadership and organizational climate interact? One leader described it as, that's when the magic happens. And participants described this relationship as symbiotic. And that was a term that I had thought about and discussed with my committee during my research, and one of my committee members said, no, that's a term from biology. It's not applicable here. But then I had people say that, and I'd take my mic and go, can you repeat yourself? Because I was like, yes, that's what they said. Symbiosis is describing a positive and cooperative relationship between two distinct entities. But it was a term that is how participants saw this relationship. They looked at the connection between authentic leadership and organizational climate as entwined and mutually reinforcing. They saw authentic leadership as cultivating a positive organizational climate, and then a positive organizational climate helped authentic leadership to flourish, which then helped create a more positive environment, and so on and so on. They described this relationship as a marriage, as the heartbeat, and as a cycle. And overwhelmingly, the participants saw that this relationship between authentic leadership and organizational climate starts with the leader. They saw it as having a trickle-down dynamic where this mutually beneficial, mutually reinforcing relationship trickles down from the leadership team through the ranks to influence attitudes, behaviors, relationships, and engagement, upward and outward through the ranks, from the lowest levels to the highest level. Authentic leadership is also a long-term strategy. Participants described it as a marathon and not a sprint. One leader in the study said, you're turning the ship, not a speedboat. So they understood what they wanted to achieve, but they recognized that it was done through small steps and through continual adjustments. And these leaders saw positive workplace outcomes. They recognized that there was low turnover, there were helping behaviors, there was increased productivity, there was better organizational performance, and it even affected the bottom line. Collaboration and teamwork and high-quality relationships were part of that intangible aspect of the authentic leadership and organizational climate relationship. So you might want to know how you can grow in authentic leadership. Take time for self-reflection, to regularly look at situations and circumstances that you encountered, and do that in light of authentic leadership dimensions. Another one is to identify what your personal core values are, and then make them a part of your daily interactions. Talk about them. Talk about how you're filtering decisions through them and incorporating them into work processes. And invite input, including conflicting perspectives as you're working through decisions and considering perhaps novel solutions. And then instead of teams where you've got everybody thinking the same way, think about creating teams where people have various backgrounds and different ways of thinking, like putting the analyzer together with the artist. And then as you are thinking through and weighing options, communicate with others what you're thinking. Be upfront and open about your motives and why. And then share relevant information with people in a free manner and a timely manner. How can I cultivate a positive climate? Don't make team building a once-a-year activity. Try to find ways to promote relationships among team members throughout your weekly, daily, regular work life. Use debriefing to help new members understand how things work on your team. Talk about difficult situations and how you handled them, or ask for help in handling them. And incorporate training on people skills, not just tech skills, and then apply those skills and talk about them as you go about work. And as experienced leaders, help emerging leaders to see what you see, to understand what you're thinking about as you've got your finger on the pulse of your organizational climate. Help them to be aware of what you're aware of. And then finally, listen. One leader's advice for new and young leaders was learn, listen, and live. And that really captures what authentic leadership is all about. If you are interested, you've got on your tables resources that you can use. If you want to know more about authentic leaders development and developing authentic followers, I'd love to talk with you. And I want to conclude with something that one of the leaders in the study shared that really captures this relationship between authentic leadership and organizational climate. The leader adjusts the thermostat, but if the leader's not around the building, checking airflow and temperature and comfort level, they'll have no idea if the temperature they've set for the environment is where it needs to be. So you might set the temperature or the thermometer, but if you're not there connecting and seeing and living it out, you have no idea how the culture and the environment is going. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mary, for that. It was wonderful, great topic here today, right? Let's give her another round of applause. Thank you very much. I did notice a lot of you taking photos, so it reminded me that back in the day I used to somehow make it downloadable in I think in an email, but I just thought of, right, as I was seeing you guys taking photos of the slides, what I'm gonna go ahead and try to do is if you check out our YouTube channel, we usually have our videos live there, so in like the description, I'm gonna make like a downloadable link to like the PowerPoint presentation. So if you check that out after, I'm gonna try to take care of that in the next couple of days here, and I'll put that in the link. I'll do it as soon as possible. So and that'll give you another opportunity to check out our YouTube channel. If you didn't know we have one, and you can share the videos with your friends and family. There's my little plug. So we want to give you a little moment here for a couple minutes of table talk and engagement here so you guys can share around the room here what are one or two takeaways from today's conversation that maybe you might want to share with a friend or a work colleague of what you all learned today. Give you a couple minutes to kind of engage together and kind of be able to release all this information that you just take in. Thank you.
First of all, give Mary one more wherever she is over here. That's right. Thanks, Mary. And all the, over 20, almost 30 nonprofit leaders in our community and government and business leaders, Man, thank you for so much for investing in our community. And man, we have an amazing community. Keep telling you all that. I hope you believe it. And then, of course, city council members with the mayor, Sue, here, and the others who've disappeared. Thanks so much. And continue to pray for them, encourage them. One of the conversations we had before is we're in a season of how hard it is to be a public servant and candidly be a servant when we seem to have this culture of they think they have the right to go ahead and trash your character and, all that kind of thing. Yeah, I'm an American, I get it, okay? On the other hand, it's just really hard. And we are a room full of leaders, and so you understand how hard it is sometimes to lead in this generation. So consider them, pray for you all like we do, and let's stay together. First of all, just a couple of different things. My takeaways, and I'm hoping that you have those around your table as well. My first takeaway, and I have 4 of them real quick, was that I am a little bit older than some of you, and so I run with a generation that sometimes we're a World War II generation, Vietnam, military. Hey, I pay you to do whatever, shut your mouth and just do whatever. Anybody have those? Maybe, I'm sure you're not one of those leaders. And if you're that kind of attitude, have a good time, because that's really expensive in this generation to lead, because your turnover rate is going to be monstrous. And if you notice, one of those things was if you learn how to, if you're growing in transparency and honesty, and I'll give you a couple of things for myself as well, your turnover rate stays. And people say, I want to stay here and work. So I just want to encourage you with that. Again, I'm sure none of those leaders in this room, because anyway, let's move on. Next one. She mentioned, but I say it this way, that an organization does take on the characteristic of its leader. Whether it's good, bad, or ugly, it's going to look like you. So it becomes important for me that I'm paying attention, not just always looking at books on org charts, and I know I should do a lot more of that. Ask my board charts and how orgs run. That's huge. On the other hand, personal development. So for me, it's instead of thinking about how can I do this meeting better or this kind of thing like that, I do pay attention, and if you run with me, you'll pay attention that I'm paying attention to my own condition of my own heart, my character development. I can control that. I can't always control whether the other stuff. I just can't. But I can control the kind of human being that I am. So personal development, I hope that you will continue to do that, and that's mine. The other one is investing in coaching for the future. I know the young ones around us love the investment in the coaching, and we're taking the time, and I hope you will do that, and I want to continue to do that, to take the time to stop and listen and let them vent, let them whine, let them cry, whatever all that is, and let them work it through. Remember, like you did once. I can remember sitting in a parking lot, in fact, right over there, spending 4 hours with an older man, and first time I'd ever had somebody take time to hear me. Because I worked in a culture that you just didn't tell people how you felt. Or asking hard questions. Well, why do you do it that way? What the heck? And to have somebody for me to say, what the heck, and have somebody let me say it and think it through and work it through, and I was so grateful for that. And I can show you the parking spot right across the street. And then the last one is I know, so Mary was with us, our staff, on Tuesday. We meet every Tuesday morning, and for our own development as a team as well. And I have to make daily choices, and leaders, you have to make a daily choice to live in authenticity. Me, just like you, live in a workspace where I can easily, by society, by voices, by culture, by whoever, want to pull me to being a total jerk or getting so ticked and so angry and exploding or whatever that is. You know what I mean? And I have to make a daily choice. I'm going to live in this authenticity. And I'm going to use this word. There are bullies around us who, that's just what they do. They wake up every morning trying to figure out who they can bully. And my mom would say, bully is what she would say. Bully you. She's a bully. And I want to choose to live in this, because I can tell you, I've been in leadership long enough where I could put up not just thick skin, which leaders need to do, right, Mayor Sue? Thick skin, but just guard your heart. On the other hand, thick skin moves to callousness, where you guard yourself so much that it becomes so unhelpful to you, and it becomes hurtful. So You got to make a choice, and I have to make a choice. Go ahead, hurt me, say whatever you want to say. Okay. But you could look yourself in the mirror and know who you are and who you're not, and then you get to hang on for dear life. So I just want to encourage, those are my choices every day. I can't answer for you. I'm sure you have no critics in your life, so, or somebody who has a different opinion. And then finally, one of our young staff, Carlos, on Tuesday said, as a leader, look for safe places. So there are some relationships, whether you like it or not, that I can't always be as authentic as I want to be. Some of it is I don't feel safe. Other times it's not good for a young leader or somebody else to let me be transparent or be authentic because it will hurt them. So with wisdom, keep looking for safe spaces, looking for safe relationships. Keep looking for those people when you can be totally honest and transparent and not understand or whatever that would look like for you. Keep looking for those spaces. Because somebody said to me the other day, I think it was John Torres, yesterday morning, leadership can be lonely, huh? Yeah, it can be. Because there are decisions I have to make and you have to make where you can't really share with other people. You just can't around you. So it becomes important that you are intentional to say, hey, can you sit down with me? Just tell you. Now, some of it can just be a friend. So, with Dave or, Sandy or somebody. But sometimes you need a professional like Aaron Crumrine. So I'm giving you a pick, Aaron Crumrine, here's. But, a professional who can sit down and say, let me just work this through because, man, I'm not liking who I'm becoming. Because an organization is going to look like you whether you like it or not. So those are my takeaways. So you take away whatever you want. I do want to thank the mayor. I want to encourage you to please, like we do at Catalyst, at every Catalyst, please make some time to sit down with somebody to say, hey, maybe you need your safe space, but here's what I learned this morning. Here's what I heard. And gosh, even if you want to do this, find an employee and say, tell us how we're doing. Really, tell me how we're doing. So I want to encourage you, City Mission Network, we're a nonprofit 501c3. We do have a grab feed coming up the end of March, the third week in March. I'm not sure if the slide is up here, but I want to let you know if you want some crab, there it is. And all of you have fundraisers. A lot of you have them. If you want some crab, baby, you better get on because we sold them out in about 4 weeks last year. So I want to give you plenty of time to get your tickets, and the QR code works. So you can get on and go for it. So, and do that. Before I'm going to ask Jennifer Marsh to come on up. She's wherever, I forget where Jen, come on up, Jen. I just want to encourage you with all the hazardous, there it is right there. With all the hazard weather going on, Erica Nasho is right here. Erica, wave your hand at the county. And she knows what's going on, what's up. If you have any questions about what's happening around right now with weather, please check with Erica. Wave your hand, Erica, one more time. She's your weather person. And that's not how they do it, I guess. I better leave it alone. Next month, I want to let you know you got to come back next month. And so let Jennifer tell you what we're doing.
Awesome. Thank you, Marvin. Good morning, everybody. So I am Jennifer Marsh, and I work for Stanislaus County Behavioral Health and Recovery Services. And I have the honor of serving our community in the capacity of overseeing our substance use, education, and prevention services. So next month, we're going to be talking about fentanyl and what's happening in our community. And just to share a little bit about what we're going to be learning about next month, I want to share a short story with you. So a young lady is home for the holidays. She's stressed out about school, relationships, and her future. She's tired of feeling alone and is looking for some relief. She's heard about pills and those popular songs she always listens to and wonders if something like that might ease her pain. On the inside, she's desperate for help. She doesn't want to worry her parents by asking for help from them. She pulls out her phone and does a quick Google search. She finds that the prescription Xanax is best for anxiety. She knows it's available through social media. She goes on social media, connects with a guy who says he has what she needs. Within the hour, he pulls up outside her house and drops off a couple pills. It's that easy. So the young lady looks at the person dropping off the pills. He looks like a decent guy. She takes it inside, goes upstairs, opens up that little baggie, and she pulls out one of the pills. That little white bar says Xanax, and it looks just like the pictures that she saw online. She splits the pill in half just to be on the safe side. She pops that half a pill in her mouth, and the moment of relief she's looking for turns into suffocation. Within minutes, she dies. Counterfeit pills and drugs laced with fentanyl are killing our community. It's a silent epidemic, and it's killing 3 to 4 of our Stanislaus County residents every single week. Did you know this was happening here in Stanislaus County? If we had a shooting every other day that resulted in someone's death, would you have heard about it? So we're here next month to talk about fentanyl, some of the impacts in Stanislaus County, and to give you information to take back to your constituents to be able to share and save a life. So I hope to see you all back in February and look forward to sharing the message with you.
Thanks, Jennifer. And I do want to affirm her and reiterate, we are in the middle of an epidemic, and our young people, old people, middle-aged people are dying because of these pills. Now, it'd be easy for you and for me to say, well, this doesn't impact me. No, it's impacting all of us. We're not just going to give you information. We're going to show you what to do if somebody overdoses right in front of you. So we're going to take a little bit of time to show you why. Because you're all leaders of leaders, and you all have circles of influence. And so if you get it, you're going to go back and pay attention to it. So I want to encourage you, or in your work culture, where you're working, where you're living, to invite people around you, from your staffs, from your employees, just so that they're aware if something happens. We are in the middle of an epidemic. And then the other thing, too, is what you can do about it and pay attention. This was brought to my attention not just because of a newspaper article, but I'm going to say Laura. I think it was Laura Ward who brought it up a couple of months ago. It just takes us time to get stuff. So I just want to please, not just you, but you bring somebody with you, some people with you that we can do better. Let me pray for us and then stick around. Lord, thank you that for Mary Starr and all that you're doing in her life, and we get to benefit from what you've done. All these leaders in our community, so proud of them and their work to be transparent and to be authentic and create spaces of health for others. Lord, each one of us come with a whole different agenda. This morning we talked about authentic leadership. On the truth of it is, someone might have been in this room, and man, they are dealing with all hell is breaking loose around them. Meet them where they are, and I pray that not only would they say something to a trusted other, but you would even now be prompting someone just to encourage and give encourage. In Christ's name, amen. Listen, you have a great day. We'll be around. Talk to somebody. Bye-bye.